Okay, yeah. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the class. So here we are not able to attend the class. Huh? I'll update this to the online admin, like Shivani. Fine. So in today's class, we are going to discuss with the concept of resource quotas. Which one? So before I go and explain what is resource quotas, first of all, I'll go and I create a mini cube. So for today's class, mini cube is enough. Okay. So every time, no need to go and no need to provision the what we call like chaos cluster. Okay, some concepts we can go and practice on Minikube also. Mm. Of course, I'm not speaking any things, Shinde. Just interacting with here. So let me go and install Minikube here. Uh, so namespace, right? What is namespace in Kubernetes? It is an isolated space in our cluster. So in real time, we have multiple teams, right? So multiple teams will be working on the single cluster. So to divide the cluster here, exactly we are going to use the concept called namespace. So when multiple teams are working in real time, we need to provide the hardware for each and every team separately. For example, let me go and explain this on a diagrammatical format. Mm, let's go. It's my cluster. So how many teams do we have? Four teams, let's say. For example, I'm taking four. So team number one is going to be dev. or like you can take whatever team you want. Doesn't need to be dev always. But of course, it is one of the real-time environment which we are going to work on. I'll increase some font size for you. So dev environment, for dev team, we have dev environment. For QA team, we have QA environment. QA means testing. For clients, we do provide UAT. And finally, we are going to have prod. So all of these people are going to work inside the single cluster only, right? For example, let's say for our cluster, we have 4 CPUs and 4 gigs of RAM. How many CPUs and how many gigs of RAM, sir? For example, let's consider, okay? So now these 4 CPUs as well as 4 gigs of RAM, I am going to distribute to each and every namespace. For developing namespace, I'll give 1 CPU. For testing namespace, I'll give 1 CPU. For UAT, I'll give like 1 CPU. And finally, for production, I can give. So like that, how much of total hardware available for our cluster, okay, we are going to distribute to each and every namespace. That is the concept of resource quotas. Which one? Here we can distribute the number of CPUs. We can distribute the number of like GBs of RAM actually. We can distribute the volume and even we can distribute the pod also. I mean, basically we can restrict. Only this particular dev namespace need to use only 1 GB of RAM. See, I can put a restriction like this. Dev namespace need to use only 1 CPU and it need to use only 1 CPU of RAM and it can need to create only 5 pods. How many pods it want to create? Like this, I can be able to put restriction, sir. I can be able to put what here? Restriction. Now, if I put restriction like this, automatically this namespace can only consume 1 CPU and 1 GB of RAM, as well as it can create only 5 pods like that. Okay. So in this way, we can be able to restrict. Let me write here 1 gigs of RAM. Remember, 1 gigs of RAM means 1 GB of RAM. So it is not a new word. So gigs can be called as GB. Okay. Like that. So similarly for QA environment, I can put 2 CPUs, 2 GB of RAM and 10 ports. So I can put whatever the thing I want actually. Okay. So it doesn't need to have only 1 CPU. You can put as many CPUs as you want. So this concept, how exactly I'm going to distribute means with the help of the resource quotas. Which one? This name might be familiar for all of you, right? Why? Because in your, how many of you are from village background here? Raise your hands. So in village background, definitely you might heard about quota, right? So might be in city background, you might not know about what is quota, but in village, it's an emotion actually. Correct or not? Our grandparents will wait for only this. Even not only for our grandparents, even we wait for the every month, first of the every month actually. Why? Because we get the free quotas from the government. We get free rice. We get sugar. Kerosene also, na? Basically, I don't know this one. Kerosene also. Okay. So like this, we can get some dal as well as some wheat, some other groceries actually like this. Okay. In the same way, instead of wheat, rice and sugar, here we are going to get CPUs, memory as well as pods like that. So let me go and explain this on very in-depth process. But unfortunately today, like my vocals are not supporting, so I cannot take the 1.5 hour class. I'll take some sort of class today and go for remaining part. Okay. Why? Because morning I had a demo of continuously 2 hours. So I lost my vocals completely. Is there any difference in my voice compared to daily and today? No, right? Same, right? That is called as management. No matter how hard your situation is, you definitely need to manage all this. And one other thing is basically I got fever, but still the same energy and same way of teaching. See, I'll tell you one thing. You might have many problems. You might have 100 problems. You might give 100 excuses. But to get the success, you cannot give excuses. The only one way is to keep going. Apart from that, there is no other thing. 100 things might stop you to do a work, but one thing will motivate you to get the success. Okay. So remind this always. So always don't try to give excuses. Sometimes even everybody will have some problems, but in that problem also, some people find out the way to do the work in a general way. That is the only difference between success and failure, people. In my word, basically, there is no success and failure, if you ask me. Successful person will put additional effort. That is the only difference. If you ask me, there is no successful person, there is no unsuccessful person. The only difference is person A tried 100 times. Person B might on 99. That is the only difference. Okay. So try to keep yourself motivated as much as possible. I am saying, for excuses, there are 100 ways, but to get success, only one way itself. Fine. So now coming to the concept of this quotas, Kubernetes cluster can be divided into namespace, which we already seen in the last class. By default, the pod in Kubernetes will be running with no limitation, just like container. For container, default, do you have any limitations? That means it can consume the complete quotas or not, sir? Yes. For example, let's take a common scenario. I said this example for you, might be. I have said the biryani example. No. That is family pack biryani. I said this one. Same concept will be applicable here. For example, if your father bought family pack biryani for you. Of course, you are very hungry. If you are very hungry, are you going to eat the 4 people biryani? No, you are going to eat only one biryani, right? Here also, whenever if I create a pod, this pod can consume the complete resource of my cluster. It can take complete CPU, and complete RAM actually. Okay, but we need to put some restriction. Otherwise, pod will be consuming all the quotas actually, like CPU and RAM, everything. Okay, by default in Kubernetes, we don't have pod limitations, but we need to set the limit for each and every pod. It can limit the object that can be created in one namespace and total number of. That means we can limit complete for each and every namespace, and we can limit the pod also. Both we can limit. When we create a pod, scheduler will check the limits of the node to deploy it. Scheduler will check. Here the word check is missing. Check. Scheduler will check the limits of the node, then only it will deploy. For example, let me tell in diagrammatical way. I have a cluster. Let's take 3-node cluster. In this 3-node cluster, so scheduler is going to schedule a pod. So in Kubernetes, are we going to put the pods on master node? We can only put the pods on worker node, right? So already we seen this one. Okay. Now, how many worker nodes do I have? 2 worker nodes. How Kubernetes will schedule pod on only worker node means by referring the. I already said in this in the architecture component. We say by. How will scheduler schedule the pod on specific worker node? If I have 2 worker nodes, how will scheduler go in place the pod on particular worker node? How? Based upon hardware properties. Which one? Worker node 1 is going to have 1 CPU and 1 gigs of RAM. Worker node 2 is having 2 CPUs and 2 gigs of RAM. Ultimately, what you are going to select? Second worker node. Why? Because second worker node is having more hardware than first worker node. Like that. Okay. So for this pod, I put this pod need 1 CPU and 1 GB of RAM. Now scheduler will go and check the worker node is having that requirement or not. If pod requirement is matching the worker node requirement, automatically this pod will be placing on worker node. For example, let's see. To create this pod, I need to have 1 CPU at least and 1 gigs of RAM. How many? 1 gigs of RAM. So now automatically my worker node, like my scheduler will check, will this worker node 1 having 1 CPU and 1 gigs of RAM? If it is having, it will go in place. But unfortunately, if this worker node is having only 0.5 CPU, 0.5 and 1 gigs of RAM. Now, is it matching our requirement? No. So ultimately, it is not going to place the pod on this particular worker node. Is placing the pod on the worker node. Clear for all of you? Everybody? Yes or not? Online. Is the concept clear for all of you? 1 rupees for 1 kg. I think it's 2 rupees, right? 1 rupee, na? That means I am paying 1 rupee additional to my quota people, I think so. Yeah. I thought it is 2 rupees actually. Kerosene? 1 rupee, 2 rupees. I am getting a doubt now actually. 2 rupees, right? ₹1. How many of you say ₹1? Raise your hands. I just want to know this one actually. I think you notice a ₹1. In your village also ₹1, huh? Hey, wait, man. Like basically, you put me on a lot of confusion. Let me go and ask Google actually. I want to make this clarify, okay? Quota in AP 1 kg rice. I just want to know it actually. So, what is the value here? 1 kg rice will be supplied. Like how much? How much, man? Just want to check this actually. 1 kg rice for white ration card. Okay. There is a value, man. Huh? ₹2 per kg, man. Initially, it was. But now you see it got on 2014. Let me check on 2024 as per 2024 price. Mm. It is value. Acha, do one thing. We cannot basically check like this. Today after the class, call to your parents and ask the value. I just want to know that value actually. But tomorrow I'm going to ask this value to everyone. Definitely you are going to tell me. Huh? On 2014 that is. Recheck. Huh? Okay, Tapas, I trust you. Let me see. Where is it? Wait, let me check it. What is the price of rice in Andhra Pradesh? No, no, it's not. Andhra Pradesh is the first state. See, it is like earlier 1 kg rice for ₹2 launched on Congress ₹1. Right. I think so in my entire career, I never researched about DevOps this much also. I'm here, I'm here. Wait, wait. Where is it? One minute scroll. Huh? Where is the value, man? Uh, okay, in Orissa it is ₹1. But I want to check for Andhra Pradesh. Okay, Acha, do one thing. Basically, it will take a lot of time to research. Even in DevOps also, I never research this much of time. Please call to your parents and ask them and let me know by tomorrow. Okay, fine. Nikhil, basically, sir, what is the extra class time? Because daily I'm missing the part. So our class started 4:15. Okay, 4:15 I start the meeting. By 4:20 I'll start the class, Nikhil. Okay. Okay. Anyways, come back to the topic. Our topic gone from resource quotas to daily quotas actually. So basically, you're going to see. Here we can set the limits of CPU, memory, and storage actually. So I can limit the CPU utilization, memory utilization, and storage utilization. Here CPU is going to measure in the millicores. Already you know, one CPU is equal to 1000 millicores actually. Okay, already you know, and half CPU is equal to 500 milli CPUs, or you can call it as 0.5. Already we seen in the Docker part. Remember, here the major thing you need to focus on what is the meaning of request and what is the meaning of limit. That is going to be the major part what exactly we are going to follow. I'll explain this on very craziest way actually. So just listen to the storytelling now. So again, we are going to tell some story to make this concept very easy. For example, you want to go to movie. You want to go to movie. This is the concept. Now you are going to ask money from your daddy. Whom you are going to ask, sir? Daddy or mommy? Why not daddy? Little bit strict. So you know your daddy is going to have very big leather bill, right? So you won't do that much of data actually. Okay. So anyways, you can take parent. Okay. So mom or dad, anything is fine. So it is like she's your mom, and like this is you actually. For example, let's consider your mom is having ₹1000. How many rupees? And this is you. So you want to go for multiplex actually. So you want ₹500. Why? Because 250 is for ticket and 250 is for popcorn, diet coke, and everything. So basically, how much you want here? How much your mom has? That means you know what is the limit, correct or not, sir? You know what is the limit, and you know what is the request also. How much you want to request and what is the limit, you know. Is it a better way to ask 500 or not, sir? Why? Because you know your mom is having 1000 rupees. You need to ask only 500. You know the limit and you request 500. Fine. Second thing is, you know limit, but you don't know request. You know your mom is having 1000 rupees, but you don't know how much you want to ask. Can you ask 100 rupees now? You know the limit, 1000. Can you ask 100 rupees in 1000? Yes. Can you ask 300 rupees now? And can you ask 500 rupees now? Can you ask 900 rupees now? And can you ask 1000 rupees also? That means the first case, when you know the limits, when you know the request, everything is fine. In the second case, if you know the limit, but if you don't know request, that is also fine. So I'm writing this very, very carefully, like carefully here. Let me go and write. When you know the limit, you know, like I'm gonna yes, and request also, you know, yes. So everything is fine. First scenario. In second scenario, you know the limit actually. What you know, sir? You know the limit, but request, you don't know. This is also fine scenario. But in the scenario number three, okay, you don't know what is limit. You don't know what is limit, but you know request. Now that means in this case, you don't know how much your mom is having. You don't know how much your mom is having. Can you directly go and ask 1000 rupees? No. Why? Because you don't know how much your mom is having with her. Then how can you directly go and ask 1000 rupees to her? Is it practically possible? No. So in Kubernetes also, for a pod, if you know what is the limit and if you know what is the request, that is a safe method. If you know limit, but if you don't know request, that is also same method. But if you don't know the limit and if you're requesting CPU and memory from the pod, it is not gonna possible. So to explain this concept, I have used a small scenario for you. Same scenario, what exactly I explained, the exact scenario you are going to replicate in the pods itself. So how many cases we are having here? Case number one, limit and request. You know both of them. Case number two, limit you know, request you don't know. That is also possible. But in case number three, you don't know what is limit, but you don't know the requirement. Is it possible? No. So that is what exactly I'm going to deal with it now. So let's go and work with it now. Before I go and work, is the concept of limit and request clear for all of you? Limit is maximum value we have. Request means how much of value you want to take. Like that. So is it clear for you now? Online, can you please confirm me? Is the concept of limits and requests clear for all of you or not? Can you please confirm in chat box? Okay, great. Now let's go into the practical part. Here I said the same thing. If you mention request and limit, everything is fine. If you don't mention request and don't mention limit, so then request is equal to, that means you don't mention the request, but you mention the limit actually. In third case, you don't mention request. Sorry, you mention the request, but you not mention the, then it is not going to possible with you. So your important thing you need to understand is every pod in CPU, sorry, every pod in the namespace must have CPU limit. Memory is optional. If you don't put memory, that is completely fine. But CPU, we definitely need to restrict. Which one is mandatory for to request? CPU or memory? Memory? Optional, not required, but it is better to put actually. Okay. And the amount of CPU consumed by all pods in the namespace must not exceed the limit. For example, it is my namespace 1, it is my namespace 2. For namespace 1, I have given 1 CPU and I am creating 2 pods. These 2 pods must use 1 CPU only. More than 1 CPU it cannot use. If I create third CPU, sorry, third pod, this third pod also need to use from 1 CPU only. That's it. So here you can go and check CPU. minimum is nothing but request. Maximum is nothing but limit. Memory is nothing but minimum request and maximum limit actually. These is the names you need to understand. Minimum means request, maximum means limit. That's it. First of all, go and create a dev namespace and switch to the namespace called dev actually. Practical part is going to be very easy for you. So there you go. So my dev namespace got created and I am on dev namespace. If you want me to get kubectl get ns or using dev namespace got created, I want to check currently I'm on which namespace. How I can check? Command to check the current namespace. Cat kubectl kubectl config view. That's it. Currently you are on which namespace, sir? Dev. So this command you need to remember. Why? Because it is one of the interview question for you. How can you view your current namespace? What is the output you are going to say for this? Kubectl config view. Correct. So I want a developing namespace. Now for this namespace, I want to put the restriction. So how I can put means as per the diagram, I am going to limit one CPU, I am going to limit 1 GB of RAM, and I'm going to limit the 5 ports. So I'm going to give vim dev quota. What I'm going to give? Dev quota.yml. So here I'm going to write the manifest file. For each and every manifest file, how many mandatory fields are there? Tell me. API version, kind, metadata, spec. Correct or not? Let me go and copy paste this one. So here it is very easy for you to understand. API version for resource quota is V1 and kind is. Sir, how can you check API version is V1 for resource quotas? What is the command? Kubectl API resources. Correct. Let me show it for you. Kubectl API resources. This I said in the data of your class. If you wait. API resources. S is missing. If you go and see for resource quotas, like let me go and check. Basically, it is very hard to find like this. So just use grep command. For grep command, you can find grep -i. Just type quotas. So for resource quotas, okay, shortcut is quota. API version is V1, and in a kind we need to write resource quota. R and Q must be capital. Correct or not, sir? Great. So after that, here I am applying this resource quota for the namespace called dev. Okay, I am applying this resource quota for dev namespace, and name of the resource quota will be dev quota. Specification hard limits. Basically, there are some limits called hard limit and soft limit. Hard means must need to happen. Soft means if it is happen, that's okay. If it is not happen, that is also fine. Okay. So hard limit means that must need to happen actually. How many number of pods I'm going to create here? Only 5 pods should be there. It must need to 5 pods. Apart from 5, I cannot create more. But less than 5, I can create. More than 5, I cannot. For this namespace, how many CPUs I'm going to provide? 1 CPU. If I provide 1 CPU for this namespace, these 5 pods can use average how many CPUs, sir? Huh? What is the value of 1 by 5? 0.2. So that means each pod can use on an average 0. Coming to the limits of memory, I'm going to use 1 gigs of RAM. That means all these 5 pods can only able to use 1 gigs of RAM like this. So again, API version V1, I'm going to create resource quota. Name of the resource quota will be dev quota and namespace will be dev. Coming to the limits, I'm setting hard limits. Hard means must need to happen. Pods, I can create only 5. CPU, I can create only 1 CPU for this namespace and I can allocate only 1 gigs of RAM. Now go and create. Kubectl create -f dev quota.yml. Now kubectl get quota. So in this development quota, I created 5 seconds ago. Maximum how many pods I can allocate? How many number of CPUs I can allocate? And how many gigs of RAM I can allocate? 1 gigs. Right or not, sir? So first of all, I create a cluster. In that cluster, I create the dev namespace. In that namespace, have I given the limits or not, sir? So is it clear for all of you till now? Everybody. Online, is it clear for all of you till now? Can you please confirm in chat box? Hard means that must need to happen. There are two values, hard values and soft values. Hard means that must need to happen actually. Clear. So next point is going to be how to execute this one. So first of all, I'm going to show you 3 examples. Example number 1, I'm going to mention, where is this gone? I'm going to mention both limit and request. In example number 2, I'm going to mention only limit, but not request. In example number 3, I'm not going to mention the limit, but I'm going to mention the, let's go and see. In the example number 1, I'm mentioning the limits, but not the request. Is it a safer method or not, sir? Yes. So let me copy paste this one. Again, it is just like your deployment file. All of you know the deployment manifest file, right? Again, same file, but the only difference is after image, I'm putting the resource. What is the limit I'm putting here? 1 CPU. And what is the memory I'm putting here? 512 MB. That means this 1 CPU need to distribute by these 3 replicas. And this 512 MB is going to be distributed for 3 replicas. This is the maximum value I can allocate, right? So let me go and create this one. So give the command kubectl create -f deployment.yml. Oh wait, deployment.yml. Is the pods got created? Kubectl get PO. How many pods are there? Eh? How many pods are there? 1. In the manifest file, how many replicas I puts are here? 3. Correct? But why only 1 pod got created? You can see it clearly, right? Only 1 pod is running. What happened to the rest of the pods? I'll tell you. See, sir, here for each and every pod, or for each and every container, you are setting 1 CPU. But for our entire namespace, what is the CPU we are having for the entire namespace? 1. So that means here I am ready to go and create 3 pods. Pod number 1, pod number 2, pod number 3. But entire pod number 1 is consuming 1 CPU. But what about remaining pod 2 and pod 3? Is it possible? This 1 CPU I need to distribute to all the pods. But this single pod number 1 is alone itself taking the entire 1 CPU. That is the reason it is not created. Is the logic clear for you? That's it. So now I am going to break down this into a simple piece. Now tell me, I'm going to delete the deployment, kubectl delete. But before delete the deployment, I'm going to tell you a command, very, very powerful command, which is going to be helpful in your real-time troubleshooting. There is a command called kubectl get events. Which command? If anything happened wrongly in your cluster, if you get any disturbance in the cluster, or if you get any issue in the cluster, this command is going to provide the solution for you. Kubectl get event means that is going to tell why your objects are not created properly. If I go here, you can see, are you getting the error? What is the error here? Forbidden. What is the error? Exceeding the dev quotas. Requested 1 CPU, used 1 CPU. Okay, that means it is telling that, array man, you are getting an error while creating the pod. Why? Because here you got forbidden issue. Why forbidden issue means you have given the dev quota, you requested 1 CPU, but you are creating 3 replicas, but only 1 pod is taking the entire CPU. Then what about pod 2 and pod 3? Is the logic correct or not? So remember, whenever if you are getting any issue in your cluster, run this command kubectl get. That single command will provide the errors for you. So in real time, we use this command very, very frequently. Okay, that's it. So now what I'm gonna do, kubectl delete hyphen f dot. Oh, sorry, sir. I deleted the this is quotas also fine. Kubectl create hyphen f dev quota dot YAML. Go here and we am in deployment file. In deployment file. So now how many replicas I have here? 3 replicas. I want to distribute one CPU for these 3 replicas. That means on an average, how much of a CPU I can give? 0.3. Can I give? So if you go and see 3 replicas, for each replica, I'm gonna give 0.3. What is the value now? 0.9. That means in my one CPU, if I consume 0.9, still I have 0.1 or not, sir? That's it. Similarly, memory I'm consuming 512. For single pod, it is 512. But if you want to distribute 1 GB of memory for 3 pods, for 3 pods on an average, can you give 300 of MB? Correct or not? Why? Because the limit we have is 1000. So you can give 300 or you can give 330 also. Here I am giving 300 MB. How much, sir? 300 MB. Now if I compare this 300 MB for these 3 replicas, what is the value I get now? 900 MB. It is less than 1 GB or not, sir? Correct. Now go and create this one. Kubectl create hyphen f deployment.yml. Now go and get kubectl get PO. Are the 3 pods running now? Previously, why pods are not able to create? It is exceeding the limits. But now, is it exceeding the limits? No. This is how exactly you are going to deal with the concept called quotas. Which one? For every namespace, you are going to allocate the CPU and memory. In that namespace, while you are going to create the pod, for that pods also we are going to allocate the CPU and memory itself. So is the concept number 1, defining the limits but not request. Clear for all of you? If you can go and say asked only limits, but where is the request? I haven't asked request, but that is also fine. This is the concept number 1 of defining the request but not the defining the limits but not the request. Is the concept number 1 clear for all of you know? Online, can you please confirm me? Is the concept number 1 clear for all of you or not? Clear. Okay, fine. And one more thing here you want to understand is what is the limit of the pods here, sir? Limit of the pods 5, right? Kubectl delete hyphen f deployment.yml. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the deployment.yml. The thing you need to understand is here replicas I'm going to put 10 now. What I'm going to put? 10. If I put 10 here in the CPU section, for each pod I want to give 0.1 CPU and for each pod I'm going to give 100 MB. Is it possible or not, sir? Yes. For 10 replicas, 0.1 CPU. So 10 into 0.1. What is the value? 1 complete CPU. Our namespace will have 1 complete CPU. And 10 replicas into 100 MB. What is the value? 1000 MB. 1000 MB means we are having 1 GB. But here if we go, our namespace is restricted to create only how many pods? But how many I am creating? Even though if the CPU and memory is properly allocated, my namespace will not allow 10 replicas. If you want me to show, kubectl create hyphen f deployment.yml. Now give the command kubectl get PO. Go and check how many pods it is creating. Why only 5? Where are the rest of the 5 here now? It won't create. Why? Because those are out of exception. I don't give the limit to create 10 pods. I create the limit only for 5 pods. If you want me to give more information, kubectl get events. If you go for events, let me make it small. Are you seeing the errors here? In this error, you can see limit of the pods is 5, but we are trying to create here. That's it. So in this way, you can be able to work with the concept called resource quotas. Now let me delete kubectl delete hyphen f deployment.yml. Now is the limit of CPU, memory, as well as pods clear for all of you now? How we can restrict the namespace in real time? By using the resource quotas. Which one? quotas. That's it. Here I have given the first example and the same way I have given the second example also. You can go and you can try it out. In the example number 2, I am going to mention limits as well as it is also going to be safe way. It is also going to be safe. Let me go and see here what exactly I am trying to do is VAM deployment.yml. And one more thing is basically if you don't know how to write this manifest file, you can take it from ChatGPT also. Let me start using ChatGPT from now. Till now, I haven't shown how to use ChatGPT in real time, right? But from now, I'm going to show you. Let me open ChatGPT. For example, what is your requirement now? My requirement is to get a manifest file for resource quotas. I am asking ChatGPT to generate a manifest file with 3 replicas with limits and requests. You need to give the proper input, sir. That is proper prompt actually. If you give proper prompt, then it will generate. If you go and see, it is relevant to our exact concept or not, sir. See, it is exactly our manifest file and this manifest file is from the ChatGPT. Both look similar or not? You can see API version, kind, metadata, label, spec, replica, selector, match label, template. Everything is same actually. So what I'm going to do here, how many number of replicas I'm going to have, sir? 3 replicas. And for this one, what is the limit actually? Limit I can give for one pod, I can give 1 CPU. Request, I am requesting 0.5. Is it possible? I know my namespace is having 1 GB. Can I request 0.5 GB? Yes. Similarly, memory. My memory is 512 MB. That is the limit. But I am requesting 256 MB. Is it possible or not? So this also you can go and create. Let me go and execute this one. But guys, here you are going to change the values. What exactly you are going to change? Values. Let me change out the values. So here basically limit is going to be 1 CPU and memory is going to be 1 GB. How much, sir? 1 GB means 1 GI we need to give. Okay. Let me modify this one. My primary intention is to all of you need to use ChatGPT in your real-time works. Why? Because nowadays everyone is using ChatGPT. If you don't know how to use ChatGPT, don't worry, I'm going to teach it here. Okay. So now, basically, how many number of replicas I'm going to create, sir? 3 replicas. For 3 replicas, I have 1 GB of maximum. That means for each replica, I need to give 0.3. Correct or not? So I'm modifying to 0.3. And memory, I have 1 GB maximum, and I'm giving 256 MB. So 256 into 3, almost I'll be getting 750. So it is less than 1000 GB or not, sir? Sir, 1000 MB, correct. But here, if you want to change the label, let me change out the label. Percentile s slash. I'm just changing the values. Percentile s slash. What is the label I'm giving? App is equal to movies. So instead of my app, I'm gonna put movies. That's it. So image, we can take our image actually. It is our image. Go and take it out. Yeah. Fine. That's it. So now go and create kubectl create -f deployment.yml. So now kubectl get PO. How many pods are running now here? 1. Let me go and check. How many are running? Sir, why only 1 is running? You don't know what is going to happen. Now what you are going to check? Kubectl get events. So in the kubectl get events, what exactly we are going to see here? First of all, the pod is going to create 3 replicas. How many replicas? 3 replicas. But after creating the 3 replicas, what happened to this one means, let me go and check on the top. 26 seconds ago. So it is going to get error. Why? Because dev quotas will have the maximum 1 CPU as the limit. So you have taken 1 CPU completely. So how it will create, sir? how it can create. That is the reason. Let me delete kubectl, delete -f, deployment.yml. Go here, vim deployment.yml. So now here what you are going to change? Limits you cannot take completely 1 GB. Limit you cannot take completely. Limit I am taking 0.5 GB. Okay. And here also I am going to take 500 MB. How much? 500 MB. And the next thing I want to tell for you is wait, MI fine. So next thing is here in the request section, I am requesting 0.1 CPU as well as 100 MB for each pod itself. Now go ahead and take kubectl create -f deployment.yml. Now give the command kubectl get. How many pods are coming now? 2. Sir, why 2 pods are coming, sir? Because in the section of limits here, what I'm going to take here? 0.5. If I make it as 0.3, is it going to work or not, sir? That is the thing. So it is the second method. So in second method, you have defined both limits as well as request. And in the method number 3, you are going to deal with the concept of mentioning only request, but not limits. That means you don't know what is the limit, but you are requesting the value. So in that case, is it possible? Means of course it is not going to be possible. Let me go and check out this one. Wait. So here what exactly I'm going to do is kubectl delete -f deployment.yml. In the deployment file, I'm just going to remove the limits actually. What I'm going to remove here? Limits. I have only request now without limits. Now go and try to create kubectl create -f deployment.yml. So kubectl get PO. Wait a second. You won't get any pods. So these are the previous pods actually which got terminated. Wait for the new pods. New pods are never going to create. Even though I applied the manifest file, these are not going to create. Let me show you. Do you have any pods? Again, I'll reapply kubectl create -f deployment.yml. So if you go and see, deployment got already exist, but where are the pods here? Pods won't create. You don't know what is the issue. Whenever if you don't know what is the issue, what is the command you need to run? kubectl get events. So go ahead and run this command. So if you run this command 44 seconds ago, you are going to create 3 replicas, correct or not, sir? But before creating the replicas, what exactly happened? If you go to top back here, search for the latest errors. What you are going to search for? Need to wait for some time. So you created the replicas, but unfortunately here, see, 77 seconds ago, let me search the latest logs here. See, 60 seconds ago, you got the error. So basically you need to find the errors in the top of everything. Why? Because your last errors will come at top actually. So error on creating the pod. Why? Because you must specify the limits for CPU. What you must need to specify, sir? Let me show you. If you go to top here in the error section, if you go ahead and see, it is clearly indicating that, oh, where it is, man. Yeah, here. In the error section, it is clearly indicating that you must specify the limits for CPU. But have we specified the limits actually? No, we specified only the request. So if you go to the diagram here, if I specify only request but not limit, is it a safer way? No. So these are the 3 different ways how exactly you are going to specify things in real time. So again, I'm going to tell if you mention limit and request, both will be saved. No, sir, if I mention limit but not request, that is also safe. But if I can't mention the limit, can I mention request directly? No, it is not going to be safer method. So again, I'm going to come back to the topic. So now answer me the topic. So you'll be getting better clarity for the above example. So if you go and see, you are going to ask your mom 1000 rupees. How many rupees, sir? You know what is the limit, right? Can you go and request your mom 1000 rupees? Yes, why? Because you know your mom is having 1,000 rupees, you can ask. So in method number one, limit is there, request is there. But in method number two, you know the limit. You know that your mom is having 1,000 rupees, but you don't know how much you want to ask. Can you ask 100 rupees? Can you ask 300 rupees? 500 rupees you can ask, 600 ask, 650 you can ask, 678 you can ask, 800, 900 also you can ask, even 1,000 also you can ask. Why? Because you cannot go more than 1,000. Why? Because you know the limit is 1,000 only. So second method, limit is yes, request is no. It is also safe method or not, sir? But in method number three, you want 1,000 rupees. You want 1,000 rupees, but you don't know how much your mom is having in her, like with her actually. Okay, so in that case, can you ask your mom directly 1,000 rupees? No. So that is the method number three. You don't know what is the limit, but you want to know the request. So this is how exactly the real-time resource quotas are going to be work for you. So again, the main intention of resource quotas is to distribute the hardware like CPU, memory, RAM for the namespace. Remember, in real time, everything we are going to work in namespace only. For namespace only, we are going to provide the quotas actually. For example, my Minikube is having 2 CPUs and 4 GB of RAM actually. Sir, if the 2 CPUs and 4 GB of RAM is not required, I want 8 CPUs and 32 GB of RAM. So in that case, can we go to our server and can we increase the computation power or not, sir? Instance type can we change or not? For example, let's say in future I want 8 CPUs, but currently my Minikube is having only 2 CPUs. In that case, what you can do? You can stop this server. You can go to action. You can go to change to instance settings. You can go and change the instance type actually. But for that purpose, first of all, you need to stop it and you need to do it. Already we seen in the Jenkins class. So this is the whole and sole concept of the resource quotas in Kubernetes. So now is the concept of resource quotas clear for all of you? Everybody. Online, can you please confirm me, is the concept of resource quotas clear for all of you or not? Can you please confirm in chat box? Clear. Fine. So now, if you are having any doubts or any queries over today's topic or over any day's topic in Kubernetes or any tool, you can ask. Why? Because for today, this simple concept is enough. But because Kubernetes, we are going to learn slowly. I cannot go and teach all the concepts one day in Kubernetes. We need to go slowly. So for today, it is enough. Now, if you are having any doubts or any queries, you can go ahead and you can ask me. Online, you can raise your hand. I'm going to give unmute option for you. And offline, you can speak. If you are having any queries. So you want me to tell hard limits and soft limits, huh? Okay, sure. Hard limit means that limit must need to pass. Soft limit means it doesn't need to pass. Let me show an official documentation. K is hard limits versus soft limits. It is directly going to open the official documentation of Kubernetes, sir. Okay. Official documentation this is. So if you go and see, here you can check it out. Let me show you. See, if you can go and see, such policies can be implemented using resource quota as a building block by writing with the controller that was the quota usage and adjust the hard limits of each and every namespace. So let me explain this one. Or let me show this on Google better. Why? Because official documentation will be very confusing for you. Wait. So in Kubernetes, for example, the hard limit defines the maximum value allow. That means it must need to pass actually that maximum limit, and it prevents any further resource allocation. But for soft limit, it is not like it. It can override, but hard limits cannot be able to override. If I put hard, I need to create only 5 pods. But if I put soft, no need to create 5. You can go for 6 also. That is a difference actually. So Vikram sir, AML file is case sensitive. Definitely AML file is case sensitive. If you put anything small instead of caps, definitely that is going to fail actually. Like giving space in one line copy paste, it is working. Something if I type is gonna fail. I tried the replicas today, but faced a lot of issue. Definitely, it is going to be case sensitive. Okay. So you need to work carefully with the Kubernetes manifest file. I think I'll suggest all of you to replica like YAML lint. You know YAML lint, right? Which is the validator of YAML files actually. Okay. If you write the manifest file, you want to check it is correct or not, go and give it on the YAML lint itself. Okay. So still in doubts or any queries from you, online or offline? Offline, no queries, huh? Okay. So tomorrow, what we are going to learn? Let me check it out. Tomorrow we are going to learn config map and secrets, PV and PVC. Okay. So mostly in tomorrow's session, I am going to cover, what do we call this one? In tomorrow's class, I am going to teach you this concept, PV and PVC, Kubernetes volume, and after volume, we can see multi-container pods. After that, okay, fine. So we still have some time to discuss your doubts and queries, guys. Please go ahead with your queries if you are having anything. Basically, Shrivani EKS is not a part of your course, but if you want me to show, definitely I'll show you how to create EKS cluster. But again, it's not a part of your syllabus. But if you want, definitely I can give a glimpse of it, how to create. In real-time COPS, do we use only on AWS and GCP? Yes. AKS is different, Shrivan. It is on Azure cloud. Na? So our one is AWS. If you want me to show EKS, definitely I'll show you. Okay. One day I'll take class and I'll show you how to create EKS. I think I have a script for EKS. I think so. Let me go and check it out. Do I have it or not? I have, but not on this laptop. Yeah. You tell me. Oh, you can use, but again, that is not gonna support for multi, right? You can use K9S, you can use Cube Spray, and you can use Metal LB. I mean, sorry, like bare metal actually. Anything you can use actually. There are a lot of things for alternatives. But again, you need to choose multi node cluster. Okay. Yes, Ram. Basically, there also you are going to work in Linux. See, the user interface is gonna change, the name is going to change. But again, the work will be same from here and there. Apache Kafka, you want me to explain in a short view? Huh? So, okay, fine. I'll take a separate note on it. And Shivani, you want to speak? Huh? Yeah. Go ahead, Shivani.
Hi, sir. Good evening.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Actually, just want to show. When you have time,
Hmm.
AKS or AKS, anyway, will do. in cluster,
Hmm.
will create containers, right? So how to map existing application gateway or load balancer to the containers? Is there
So
any?
basically, if you remember in the concept of services, automatically we created the load balancer or not?
Yes, yes, that, yeah,
Ah,
but existing load balancer, we can
no,
map
KOps will
this.
automatically create a load balancer. But if you want me to show how to create a new load balancer for existing nodes, I'm going to show on the AWS class for you, Srivani. Okay.
Okay, but we can't use those application gateways and behind this containers and all.
Sorry. Please ask your question.
Application gateway.
Application gateway. So basically, that's not a part of our syllabus actually. But if you want me to give, I'll give an overview for you. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So next, and Kiran, so basically coming to dot, basically there is a tool called Apache Kafka. Just like Apache Man and Apache Tomcat, Apache Kafka is one of the open source distributed tool that is to streamline the real-time data. That means you can streamline the messages, you can streamline the pipelines, you can streamline the storage. Everything you can have streamline in Apache Kafka, Kiran. And one more thing, all of you practice the auto scaling HP and VP in last class. So I'll ask you a question. How horizontal pod autoscaler knows the value of CPU and memory of a pod? Matrix. How matrix server is going to create in our cluster? As a daemon set, right? What is the what do we call this one? What is the what is the limits required for matrix server, sir? That means matrix server need how much of CPU and how much of RAM? 1 millicore, 2 MB. And what is the meaning of cooling period? After terminating the amount of time taken to terminate the pod after scaling. That means after your load is decreased. Correct or not, sir? What is the best example for it? Already we discussed, right? Ah, that's one. Okay. So the reason why I'm asking is it is one of the interview question for the experienced people whenever if you go for the interview. For pressure, they might not ask you in the interview, but for experience, this is going to be the common question. Fine. So Srivani, again, you want to speak? Huh?
Sorry, sir. Actually, in cluster will create in one location. So if we want to deploy containers in different kind of locations, separate east US, west US like that. So we
Okay.
need to create separate clusters.
Basically, in real time, what happened, you are going to create the cluster maximum in single AZ only. But if you want to go for multi AZ, you can go and create the cluster on multi AZ also. You have that chance to deploy the multiple nodes or multiple AZs. You can do it, Shivani.
Multiple.
See, I have 3
terminals.
worker nodes. One worker node I
Okay.
can deploy in US East 1A, second worker node US East 1B, third one US East 1C. Like that.
Okay, but cluster is in one location, but worker nodes in
Yeah, worker
different.
nodes you can go and proportion to different AZs.
Okay, how where you can mention those?
While creating the cluster only, you can mention.
Okay, okay. That cost will be the depending on the worker node where that region.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir. Even the same case for the EKS also, right?
Yeah, EKS by default will do it, but KOps also by default we did do it. So we need to mention the requirement that you need to provide in which availability zone you want to deploy the nodes actually.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, can you please give us the interview questions? Definitely, I'm gonna give at the end of the course. Don't worry as of now. The reason why I'm not giving means if I give it, you people focus on the interview questions, not on the subject. That is my major concern. Okay. Second thing, sir, where we can use Python scripting in DevOps and you cover on syllabus. So basically, I'll tell you, Vikram, Scripting main purpose is to automate. For automation, you can use bash scripting for DevOps, in Linux, for PowerShell, for Windows, for Python, for anything. Okay, if you have some Python knowledge, then you can go and learn the Python scripting. But the major thing you need to understand is, even though if you don't know Python, you can write scripting on bash, that is also fine. You need one scripting language to automate the things actually. That can be bash, that can be power, that can be Python. So I think all of you are going for Linux. In Linux class, you are going to learn shell scripting. Is shell scripting started in Linux classes? Not yet. Huh? How many of you are going now for Linux? What happened to rest of the people? Initially, I seen everyone raising the hand, but now only 4. Huh? I'm not able to get you. Huh? Okay. But somehow I'm managing with this minimum vocals. Okay. Sir, again show how many lessons required to complete Kubernetes. So it will take at least 4 to 5 classes from now in a least case. Sir, VPC peering is required. Ram, I'm going to teach you VPC peering. Don't worry about it. Okay. Okay. So I'm asking, sir, admin told me next month we'll start the new batch. Okay. So for every month you are going to get the new Linux batch. Don't worry about it, Kiran. So dates is not going to decide by admin. Okay. Management will decide and they'll let you know. Great. Give me a second. Sir, how to recover cluster from S3? Very good question. Let me show you. If you go to our S3, oh, basically, man, like this is not a mini, this is not KOps, it's Minikube. Okay, let me tell you. So it is the already cluster that I created for my last class. If I go here and if I click on enable versioning, it is my cluster data. In this cluster, for example, if I go to configuration section, in the configuration, let me open this publicly. If I open this configuration file, I'll open this from Notepad. So now if you go and see, are you in the simple manifest file here? Just to copy this manifest file, run kubectl create -f. That's it. Automatically it will recreate. What you are going to create? You are going to create the cluster. Are you seeing load balancer everything here? Go and run kubectl create -f. That's it. Now automatically this will be created. There is some other way to do it also, but I'll prefer this way actually. So again, if I go back, apart from configuration, like if I want to go for manifest file, in the manifest section, go for etcd. In the etcd, you'll be having some manifest file. First manifest file is for master node. Okay. Again, if I go back, For static, in the static, I can go for health check. So APS or this for again like master. I can go here, and if I can open to able this one, like click on open. If I go and check, again this is a YAML file or not, sir? Now can I go and give kubectl create -f? Yes, that's it. I hope it is clear for you now. But again, there are a lot of ways to recover, but this is the one way actual I can say for you. Hope it is clear for you now. And if you want to go for instance configuration in the IG, for example, you want to recreate worker node, go for worker node. In worker node, are you seeing the manifest file of worker node now? Go ahead and give the command kubectl create -f. That's it. Simple. So now, any doubts or any queries? Over. No doubts, huh? Instead of naming this session doubts and queries, I'm thinking to rename it as mobile using session. Why? Because a lot of people, whenever I ask you to ask me doubts and queries, you people try to open mobile. I think you are asking doubts from mobile, sir. You people go and search on Google and ask doubts from mobile, sir. So guys, mobile you can use later also. This is our communication time, right? See, my major intention is you are coming to offline. You can sit on your PG and listen to the class, right? But why we are coming to offline? To interact. But I am providing a lot of time to interact. But are you utilizing this? No, right? So try to utilize. Fine. Tell me one thing. Till now you learned this DevOps course, right? What is a difficult tool for all of you till now, till the date? Kubernetes only, yeah? Docker. Then Jenkins. What's your favorite language in DevOps? Till now we learned a lot of languages, right? My one is Groovy. I like Groovy a lot. Which one? How many of you like Groovy here? Mostly not all of you, but I like Groovy. Because this Groovy is very beautiful language, man. If you ask me why, because automatic indentation is going to provide, right? Do we need to provide indentation for Groovy? For Ansible, mandatory. And Kubernetes manifest, mandatory. Docker Compass, mandatory. But Groovy, that is the reason. That is gonna be the best one actually. Correct or not? How many of you say it is correct? Raise your hands. Only one. That means all of you might like YAML actually. But in future, there you are going to learn one more language also, that is HCL, HashiCorp configuration language. Let me show that language also. We have some time now. I'm gonna show this one for you. Wait. If you go and see, it is how the HashiCorp configuration language is going to look like. This language, it is one of the language that you are going to learn in the upcoming classes. This is going to look like this. Again, automatic indentation. I'm going to tell you how to provide automatic indentation for it. Tell me, bolo. Kubecast, I'll tell tomorrow session. Tomorrow I'm going to create multi-node cluster. There I'm going to install Kubecast and I'll show it lively for you. Okay. Sorry. Serialization means everything you are going to follow on a structure. Let me show you a basic example. Serialization is going to indicate like this. Let me go for Ansible. Okay, in the Ansible, if you go for the playbook section here, are you going to see step by step here? It's serializable format or not, sir? Serializable means like based upon the series. Exactly, this is the series is starting from here and it is going like this. That is what we can call a serializable language. Okay. That means you are going to have proper indentation for each and every task you are going to perform. Is it clear now? Yep. Okay then. So are we good for today? Any doubts or anything to ask? All right. Okay, so I'm leaving a bit early today. Why? Because I'm not feeling that much of well. So let's meet on tomorrow's session with some new topic. Have a great day. Bye. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Kiran, definitely I'll suggest to learn ML Ops if you know some ML part. Bye, everyone.